done well enough for now, we can go to 5 to 8 officials and pay for their school.
Next, we want to thank our sponsors for making this induction day possible, especially the 6 presenting sponsors: the Golf Association of Michigan, the Michigan Golf Course Superintendents Association, the Michigan Section PGA, the Michigan Golf Course Association, Sarah Wold, Sarah, she's not here today, she's in Florida. Her and Claudia, I'm sure, are playing golf somewhere, but she never fails to send a check and support us. And then the Johnny Green Company, which all you guys know Pete. That's Pete's company. They are a key part of our annual fundraising for the Golf Foundation, and the Golf Foundation handles the operation of the Hall of Fame, obviously, and made all this possible and talked Ken Janke's son into giving a bunch of money. Now we're going to turn it over to a professional. You guys know him as the voice of Michigan Golf, and of course he's on the TV, Michigan Golf Live, multimedia platform, radio show. He does it all. He's also whenever the Tigers get rained out, they put one of his shows on. But he's the tall guy we always see playing golf, and we think, he's got a really nice gig. But ladies and gentlemen, Bill Hobson.
The description was, I was at the Michigan-Texas game a few weeks ago, back when we thought we had a chance to beat them, and I'm in the surrounding areas walking into the big house, and a guy just walks by me and goes, "Hey, the Tiger rain delay guy." I'm like, 25 years of Michigan Golf Live, and I'm a Tiger rain delay guy. So we take what you can get. And then he called me Dave, so things are going well. It's going really, really well. My favorite part is when he introduces, "Hey, honey, come over here, you got to meet," and she has no idea what he's talking about. So it's very special. We are richly blessed to be rounding out our 25th year of Michigan Golf Live. We're spoiled. We're spoiled by many of you in this room who we consider our friends and our partners, and thank you for helping us help you celebrate the game. I am always glad to come to this gathering and be able to shake hands, give hugs, say hello, those of you who are still active in the golf industry are winding down a season where you didn't sleep a whole lot. This has been a busy time, and you thought, once we get to October. No, it's going to be 75 in October, and you're going to keep on going. This year, there is, if you'll forgive me for having a little bias, there is one person here that I'm especially glad to see, and that is Dave Kendall. So there's a lot of people in this room praying for you, sir, and I'm so glad you're here. No, I will not play you for money still. He's telling me beforehand, he goes, "Yeah, I'm finally getting the driver back up to about 180, 200 yards. I'm like, "You want sympathy from me for this? You would still beat me by 15. So it is great to have you here, and we're pulling for you in all of the things that are battling these days. We get the chance to honor some difference makers in the game. Love this part, right? In the world of technology that we're currently in, artificial intelligence continues to do some wild things. One of the things that has apparently allowed to happen is the cloning of Greg Johnson. Because it seems like everywhere I went this season, Greg was there at a tournament, or he's just taking pictures of someplace, and I need to make sure, I should probably put a little Apple AirTag in the pocket of one of the Greg Johnsons so that I can see how I track both of the Greg Johnsons. But you talk about somebody who is tireless and passionate about covering and promoting the game. I'm so excited to be able to spend some time sharing his story with all of you as we welcome our first honoree, Greg Johnson. He's going over the steps way. Greg is about to have knee surgery, not here on the platform.
No, not today.
Because I would not be very good at that, but
still 9 days away.
Save your receipt if I do it.
I get up a little slow. But you guys are used to that. Most of the time, I'm on a golf cart, and
Use your mic.
and some of you, the guys who freak out when you show up to take their picture, will tell me to get out of the way. But then there's others who don't even seem to notice me, like Kevin Vandenberg. I don't even think he knows I'm there, and or Tom Workmeister, even though I know he knows there because he usually says hi to me on the way up to the tee. We've been good buddies for a long time, and I've seen him hit.
So,
I don't know how many golf shots.
hey, can I do the interview
Hey,
here? Are you okay?
hey, stat two on Dave Kendall. He's 69 and he shot 69 the other day.
I know.
With cancer. That's amazing.
And he has an ace
Yeah.
in the last couple of weeks.
He's incredible.
Pretty remarkable.
He's my hero.
In the world of amateur golf, at the amateur net level, when we're playing in GAM events, when Greg shows up, it's nerve-wracking for a lot of players who aren't used to having cameras anywhere near them, even though he's off to the side. But the thought that somebody's going to capture your swing changes your swing if you're not used to it. And I think Greg takes extra pride and pleasure in messing with people's heads when he's out there.
Well, especially the net guys. And since Bill he sponsors the net tournaments and he plays in them. And I don't yell shank or anything, but he knows I'm there.
Yeah,
So,
and I usually deliver one for you.
Yeah.
So I've had the privilege of knowing Greggy for probably close to 30-ish years. Before he left the world of the newspaper and went into his own agency world as a PR expert, you're all aware, of course, that the world of the newspaper has changed dramatically in the last couple of decades, obviously. But that's kind of where your heartbeat is in the world of storytelling, right? You're a newspaper guy.
I still have an
heart.
ink stain on my shirt, so that I'm an ink stained wretch. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, I was a newspaper kid from when I delivered it. I read the Chicago Tribune and my hometown St. Joseph Herald Palladium every day, and
What
I
aspires?
just wanted to be a sports writer from.
Yeah,
well,
why?
first I wanted to be Denny McClain, but then once I realized, my fastball wasn't over 80 miles an hour, then I had to make a change, and I caddied at Point of Woods, and I kind of liked Arnold Palmer, so it went from there.
Okay, we have a lot to unpack there. First of all,
Okay.
Denny, it didn't turn out to be the best idol ever in Denny McClain.
No, it wasn't. No, in fact, I had to write about him, going to jail.
Oh,
Yeah, so
writing about your idol.
write about your idol going
Yeah.
to jail was a unique experience.
But the caddying side of things,
for the second time.
how did you get connected to that, and why do it?
Well, when you lived in St. Joe Benton Harbor back then, and Point of Woods hosted the Western Amateur, which is a huge amateur tournament, for 26 consecutive years, I think they're in that stretch. And I was Mr. Grisande, he was the guy on the block who golfed and had the bad pants. So, and he recruited caddies because they needed more caddies, especially when the Western came to town, even if just for the qualifying days. So I got recruited one year just to go out there, and I knew a little bit about golf, but I was a baseball player. My dad was a baseball coach, but he said, all you got to do is carry it and keep your mouth shut. And I knew that keeping my mouth shut would be hard, but I pulled it off. I could carry all day, and Point of Woods, fell in love with Point of Woods, played on Mondays with the other caddies. I was never any good, but I could make a 13 hitting from the bus stop all the way to the first hole, as long as we didn't get caught by the caddy master. But it was, so I kind of fell in love with golf then and wanted to be better at it. Really didn't play it much when I was playing, junior college baseball and all that kind of stuff. But then I got married to a girl that her dad was a passionate golfer and a single-digit handicap who would beat me 6 ways to Sunday, and he really ignited the fire in me to get better at it again. And then I had great friends who I started covering in golf as the beat writer in Grand Rapids. So I had teachers everywhere that I knew, like Buddy Witten and Lynn Jansen and Charlie Vandenberg, and I could go to any of the country clubs and go, hey, give me a 30-minute lesson. And so I got better. I still wasn't good enough. I played with Buddy in a scramble once when Egypt Valley opened. And I'm on this team with Buddy Witten, Bob McMasters, who's on the wall back there, and Patty Shook Boyce, who's the woman who won the most Michigan. So I'm looking at him and going, I don't even have clothes good enough to play with you guys. So, but we shot like 21 under or something, and Buddy didn't say much, but Buddy was a perfectionist, and he would tell us, okay, left side of the fairway, pins tucked right. He'd tell, Buddy was like a caddy and playing at the same time. And of course, I hit what I thought was my best drive of the day, and Buddy said, I said left side of the fairway. Like, buddy, hitting the fairway was good on this hole. But,
So you got the golf bug in you.
I did.
When did you get the sports writing bug?
I had that before. That was more like 15 or 16. And when I was a little kid, I had a story about a fly caught in the kitchen that was published in Highlights magazine, children's magazine.
Highlights.
So my fourth grade teacher, Gertrude Sowers, pitch out to Gertrude, she kind of told me, you have some skills if you quit screwing around. And
So when are you going to do that?
I know. It didn't. It hasn't happened yet. But
Someday, Gertrude, someday.
Gertrude's still watching.
But when that light bulb goes on, even as a teen, you can kind of feel the flicker of a passion. Not everybody who graduates from this university really knows what they're going to do for a long. When did you know I wanted to do something in storytelling in the world of sports?
Pretty early, in high school, really.
Yeah, okay.
I wrote stuff for a high school newspaper. I was in a Boy Scout Explorer group, and I punched commercials for Tiger games. And because back then someone had to do it manually, and they would pay some kid $2 an hour to do that, and I was that kid. And I don't know. I didn't think of ever doing anything else. I wanted to work in sports, and like my dad said, I don't want you to go in the military like I did. Don't need you to go to war. He goes, go type for a living. So I typed for a living.
Okay, so the world of typing for a living continues to change. It seems like at a blistering pace. There's not the kid with the basket on the front of the bike driving by and throwing the paper in your hedges anymore. And so that industry has been largely gutted from just an employment standpoint. I know a good number of former media members who, when they lost their position at their papers, didn't know what to do. You didn't struggle. Greggy was like, all right, you're going to take me out of here? I'm ready to roll in my own world. Can you kind of talk to us about what that transition was
I struggled a little while, but I had a buyout, so I had checks coming in, which was nice.
Yeah.
And then for a little while I did, but I knew I wanted to still tell stories, and I had been the guy who had done the dark room and the uncle with the camera for a number of years. And so I knew they wouldn't want to pay two guys to do pictures, one guy to do pictures, one guy to do stories like they did in the newspaper days. So I went back to school, and I was announcing Grand Valley football at the time, doing color football, and just kind of finding my way. I was delivering cars for a car dealer who wanted me to sell cars, but I said, no, I'll just do the easy part and drive fancy cars to people that buy them on the internet. I did that for a little while, but all the while, people like Tanya Branch then and Tanya Laird now from the GAM, and David Graham and Kevin Helm from the PGA, they had these websites they had spent a bunch of money on, and they had nobody coming to their tournaments anymore. You had the Michigan Open, I went to the Michigan Open in 2011, my last year at the newspaper, and that was after, Farton was retired, Jack Barry was not working at the paper anymore, Jack Saylor had passed away. There were no more golf writers except me. One guy, and then Brendan Savage came for the last day. So we had two reporters the whole week in a press room that used to have 20 to 24 people. It just became obvious. And so when I sat down with those guys, they, what can we do? They're like, what can we do about getting the media to come? And I said, you're just going to have to tell your own story, and I know a couple old sports writers who can help you do that.
Take just a moment to step back and consider the impact of the golf industry in the state of Michigan, weighed against the lack of attention it receives, generally speaking, throughout media, right? This industry is so vibrant. It's at maybe its all-time high. I guess we could have a roundtable discussion about that. And yet the coverage level in your daily publications or your local news, it's not there. Which to me means that the role that a guy like Greg Johnson plays is super important. And I was kind of joking about the artificial intelligence cloning you.
No, I think that's next.
Do you live in your car as much as I do in the summer? Because you're everywhere.
My car, I just bought a new car this week because the The Jeep died. It had 209,000 miles on it. And
Just from this year?
it said, yeah, I quit. Yeah, well, no, it wasn't just this year. But you were right about the IT thing. I think AI is going to replace me, and I think Mary Jo probably already has a plan for that because she plans ahead.
Okay, so over all the years, some memorable in the golf realm, sports figures, interviews that you've conducted. Who are the people that jump out at you?
Ali, Muhammad Ali, on a rowboat on the St. Joseph River by Berrien Springs where he lived.
On a rowboat? On
a rowboat, and he's talking trash and laughing and splashing me, and I'm holding a camera and a tape recorder going, champ, I can't get this wet. Then he was hilarious. Yeah. And then I spent a day with Michael Jordan when he was in a training camp thing. I was doing a special magazine thing for, I was doing some quotes and stuff for Sports Illustrated. Back then, Sports Illustrated would hire like 4 people to get all the good quotes, and then some writer would just take all your work and get his byline.
Wow.
But they paid $600 a day, so it wasn't one you turned down. So I did a one-on-one with Michael at the practice facility in Chicago, and that was cool to get him for like 2 hours just shooting the bull, and so that was really memorable. Tiger, when he was 15, came to the Western Amateur, and I was a reporter by then, and I sat with his dad and him at a table at Point of Woods on the balcony and chatted away, and then Tiger and I walked around, and then years later at the Buick Open, I covered 25 Buick Opens, by the way, but I'm there. It's one that Tiger's leading. He's going to win. It's after the 3rd round. There are people lined up all the way down by the tennis courts, all the way to the front door, just to see Tiger and try to get an autograph. And he doesn't want to sign 7,000 autographs. He doesn't. Who has that time?
Can't stop for one.
Arnold Palmer might,
right.
but Tiger wasn't going to do that. Tiger sees me, and he was one of the guys that called me Grand Rapids because I became known as Grand Rapids. That's probably Peter Jacobson's fault. But anyway, he grabs me and he goes, Grand Rapids, Grand Rapids. He goes, walk with me so they think we're doing an interview and I don't have to sign all the autographs. So
you were a prop.
So I was a prop. Yeah, that's the only time, but I thought it was pretty cool to be Tiger's prop,
Okay, so as is the case for everybody who ends up on this platform, there's a story to tell from a family perspective and a support system perspective.
You're going to try to make me cry now.
I've been trying for the last 12 minutes.
I cry at the end of commercials. So.
Yeah, talk to us about that family system.
Okay.
You can do this.
This is the hard part. Parents who said humility, empathy, and hard work will carry you.
Yeah.
They were right.
Yeah.
I met a girl at Michigan State that it took a whole year to get up the guts to ask her out. She lived across the hall because I thought she'd say no, and she didn't. And then I didn't have a plan for that. So
never got past that first stage.
I figured a no was coming, and I'd only have to put up with my roommate shaming me for a day.
I did not see
it was
that
just before graduating. It was one of those. But and then her family, she had a big Irish Catholic family with huge dogs. They did show dogs, and I couldn't learn all the names. And but all of a sudden I had 9 brothers and sisters who were amazing. And Carol and I, I told her right away, I don't want to have 9 kids like your parents. Let's not do that.
That was the first date.
So we had one. We proved we could do it. We had Jennifer. She's back there, and she married she was a great kid. Liked to read books with her dad and listen to him make up stories, and that was good. And she married Ross, who's a farm boy and a farmer, and they have 3 wonderful little grandkids who are around here. They all have nicknames because in my world everyone has nicknames, but we won't embarrass them. Well, what the heck? G-Buddy, Shawnee Boy, and Smoochie. So, yeah.
Smoochie.
Yeah, Smoochie. That goes, her dad and I have kind of conjured her with that one.
Yeah.
But, so a really great family system. My sister-in-law, Jeannie's here. She's one of the 9 brothers and sisters I immediately gained. My sister Barbie's here. She was the good-looking one in the family who got straight A's and made it really hard on me and my brother Mike. Lost my brother to cancer in 2019, and miss him every day. And then there's other people that are like family. Juice, my college roommate, nickname, of course. Guaz, my neighbor. Joe C., my mentor right there from newspaper days. I worked with him a lot of years, and we used to bump bellies on the basketball court a lot of times. And then Terry Moore back there, who's used to share a house with him at the Masters, and Jack Berry, and of course Jack Saylor. I miss him. He was the funniest guy you'd ever want to travel with. He looked like a curmudgeon. I thought at first him and Jack Berry would never talk to me, but then I became friends with him, and Joyce became like a second mom. So, good people.
I want you to tell one story before we're done.
Okay.
Greg has the distinct honor of winning the Masters Media Lottery, which makes me not like Greg in that realm. And if I remember the story correctly, you get to play on Monday, but it was a monsoon. It was really bad weather.
Early in the morning. It was right. Mickelson had won his second one. It was 2006.
And you had a shot that your caddy gave you some distinct advice on.
Well,
Could
on
you
12.
share that story?
We get to 12. Yes, we get to 12. This is Kenny Hartman always makes me tell the interns at the GAM this one at tournaments. But so we get to 12, and I haven't played. I didn't play very well on the front nine. Hit some. I was just nervous. I mean, you're playing Augusta, and I had a third-generation caddy who was hilarious, which really helped. But we get to 12, and the wind's blowing in the face, and I'm thinking, this is the hardest 142-yard shot I have ever seen. And because the history, and you're thinking about Fred Couples, and I'm thinking about Weiskopf's 13, and I'm thinking, oh, man, I know too much. There's too much in the brain right there. So I hit the worst 6-iron you have ever seen, a line drive that is so bad it goes over the water, hits into the bank. It's up by the cart path and the bridge on a downhill little lie out of the garden. So my backswing is in flowers, and I'm standing there with the caddy, and the caddy's been funny all day because like at 9 he told me, just swing like it's a muni with grandstands. He's trying to loosen me up. And when I'm standing there, and he goes, Mr. Johnson, because I kind of reached for my sand wedge thinking, I'll just flop it over the bunker, like you could any course. And he's going, Mr. Johnson, shaking his head, Mr. Johnson, there's only 2 people in the world with this shot, and you ain't one of them. So I laughed for like 5 minutes. I'm just laughing. I'm going, okay, you got to tell me who the 2 are. And he goes, well, Tiger and Phil. Yeah. And then he goes, I go, what are we going to do? He goes, well, you're going to take the pitching wedge, and we're going to see if we can make 5 from behind the green.
And did you?
We made 4. But a totally lucky putt. But he read the putts all day. I broke 90, which was amazing, because I thought I'd shoot 100 million. And if you would have seen me on the first 2 holes, you would have thought, oh, this dude's, I almost hit the scoreboard on my, tee shot on number 1. If you've ever been there, you know how bad a shot that is. He was hilarious. And then he got us at 13 too. So I got to finish that story because at 13 we're all walking up the fairway. I'm playing with a guy from San Diego, a TV guy from Japan who was taking 1,000 pictures, and his caddy was threatening him to throw him off the bridge because he said, he takes one more picture, I'm throwing him. And we're cruising down the fairway on 13, and all of a sudden my caddy goes, everybody stop. And so we all, and it's gorgeous. Now the sun has come out, the rain's quit. The flowers, it is like and you're seeing it live, and I think I'm playing Augusta. So we're all standing there staring. He goes, if you listen real close, you can hear the grass growing. And we're all like listening. Then he goes, man, you guys are chumps.
That's great. Well, Greggy, a pleasure to know you as a friend, as a professional colleague, as a man of passion, as a guy who can make everybody laugh, who loves his family, and I could not be more happy to officially welcome you into the Michigan Golf Hall of Fame.
Thanks, Mike.
There you go, brother. I cannot wait to welcome onto the platform our next honoree, because when you think about family tradition in this game, in so many of our lives, the family lineage in golf is a key part of the story. And that is certainly true in the world of Boyne Golf, and it's certainly true for Mr. Kircher. So come on up here if you would, and let's dig into what this is all about. Steve Kircher. Come on in. 35 years ago, in a kind of a ballroom at Indianwood, in that medieval castle over there, you were witness to your dad being inducted into the Michigan Golf Hall of Fame. So full circle, hello. What's it like?
You're trying to get me emotional right out of the
right
gate.
out of the gate.
Right out of the gate.
You know, Oprah does it. I might as well try.
Yeah. Well, and Bernie and I were both in the audience for that event, and it seems like yesterday. It's to have full circle come to this moment is pretty amazing, and the journey we've been on.
How did the relationship with Dad get you in and keep you in this world that you're in?
Well, you know, I think obviously he laid the seeds, the foundation, the opportunity. You know, I drew a couple aces and kings obviously in this world, and that I always felt a sense of responsibility with that, and you know, building on a legacy that we had as a family and as a company was really important for me to build on that and you know, not mess it up. Obviously, that was also like the fear of failure is a driver to success as much as it is a vision for a new way to do things. And it was a motivator, but I certainly had the passion for the game that he introduced me to. I used to hit with his Heg Ultras or whatever, these super heavy D-weighted adult, you know, I was like 8 years old and I've got these like full size trying to hit pitch shots and didn't realize it wasn't size for me, but I was still enjoying it.
And you obviously have some intrinsic competitive juices in you because you could play recreational, but you got into competition. When did that fire kick in for you?
Well, it started, you know, I went to golf camp at 11 or 12, and you know, I played with my father and my mother and their friends, and I found an opportunity to succeed. As I was beating my mother by, I don't know, I was like 11 or whatever, and I beat my mom, and that's always a fun thing to beat a parent. And then I beat Dad by 12 or something, and then it's really fun when you beat your dad. My son Stein's trying to do that still, but you know, that engine that drives a kid to become passionate about it. Obviously, I had in my backyard, I had a putting green that I used to mow, so I started becoming really adept at short game, and I became, you know, obsessed. I think I realized now I got a little OCD, so I would practice for hours and hours and hours hitting chip shots over the driveway onto this green and over the house and God knows where. And then I went to golf camp and Golf Digest. I met Jim Flick and really started to, you know, become proficient. And then I won I won the high school state championship as a junior, and then went on to college and played at Northwestern and Michigan State. And two of my teammates are here, and I remember, you know, that whole path of being a competitor, and then after college or during college, I went to U.S. Amateur. So I had that exposure, and it really did, you know, build on my passion for the game, and I got exposure that I wouldn't have gotten if I hadn't been a competitive golfer. You know,
we tend to think of as we get further down the road, age-wise and career-wise, and you begin leading this sizable company, that those competitive juices somehow just disappear or they transfer over into business. When's the last time you were nervous on a golf course?
Well, a little on Friday when I hit a flop shot to close out a match at Pine Valley. That was the last time I was nervous. And then over Labor Day with Andrew when we were coming down the stretch where we had to make some birdies to climb the leaderboard. So I still get either nervous or, you know, that competitive juices flowing. I guess it's a fine line between nervous and being in the zone, I think, you know. So I still enjoy being competitive. I've about 18 rounds this year, so not that many rounds to get sharp, but still enjoy it.
So golf, the summer sport, But you, of course, are in a year-round industry in your world. When did the ski part of it become as important, or did it become as important as golf to you?
Oh, it was always there. I mean, we're two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
I mean, it's winter and summer. I mean, one thing I used to complain about golf, I'd have to take 6 months off living in northern Michigan. So everybody I competed with, it seemed like in those junior tournaments, we'd go down south and play against these guys from Georgia and Texas, and they play 12 months a year.
Right.
It's like, well, no wonder you're so good. I mean, how the ability to play 12 months was a really, an amazing thing. But skiing was as passionate. I wasn't competitive in skiing, but I enjoyed it as much. It's a great connecting, like golf, it connects people multi-generationally. It's got the ability to, take you places you never imagined going, these beautiful outdoor venues. Golf and skiing have a lot of similarities in regard to, engaging in nature and having a connection with friends and family.
So carrying on the family tradition, Boyne, the name Boyne Resorts continues to be a nationally recognized, maybe globally recognized brand, and spread all over America. When you step back and look at what this has all become, first of all, what would Dad think today?
Well, as somebody said, would he be like, why are you here with me at this Hall of Fame? I think he might be saying that, but besides that, I mean, he would probably be stunned. I mean, he passed in 2002, and we had just crested $100 million in revenue, and we're knocking on the door of $700 million and 12,000 team members, and it's a lot more complicated business than it was maybe when he passed on, and but it's. I feel I've built on a foundation and didn't screw it up, and we've got a long way to go and a lot more to contribute. I feel like this honor is amazing, but I feel like I've got 20 years to earn it because we got a lot more to do, both on the golf and ski and other transformative experiences that we're working on.
I don't know if everybody's kind of given thought to the depth of consideration and planning and investment that leadership in the Boyne Resorts world makes into delivering the best possible guest experience that you can. We've talked downstairs a bit about how you've taken leadership teams to some very probably unexpected destinations to hear from thought leaders, from industry leaders. A couple of years ago, I think you took your team to immerse with the Disney leadership team for a few days, and this year you did something special. Can you kind of color in that picture a little bit for why that approach helps the Boyne Resort experience?
I mean, we're all about developing great people. I mean, really giving exposure, continuous education. We had our next gen leaders there in Chicago this week at a Jim Collins event. Same with the Disney. Just really give people the opportunity to expand their horizons and think differently. We exposed them to restaurants they never would have gone to for restaurant experiences this last week, and Disney was certainly one of the leaders in training and developing and creating experiences. And we had several of the leadership come in and speak to us about how they do that. And it's trying to, one thing Dad left with me, I think, is to think differently. He was a contrarian as much as he was anything else. Many of you in the room maybe remember he hated spikes, like golf spikes. And I remember one day, I think Bernie and I came into the office and told him, hey, there's this thing called soft spikes that replaces the metal spike. And he was like, oh my God, this is the greatest day of my life. And he's like, we're going to mandate everybody who plays at Boyne is going to have soft spikes on. So Bernie and I and others were trying to figure out how that's going to actually work, but we actually started changing like 70,000 spikes that summer. Wow. I think it was we had like teams of people changing out people's shoes. It was so anti, customer service, but within a year, soft spikes completely flipped. The rest of the industry embraced it. I think the Tournament Champions went soft spike, and Jeff Roth, we love him so much, but he was like, I'm not playing with, so I think he played in like street shoes or something instead of putting soft spikes on. But being, innovative, whether it was on the lift technology side. And so we embrace that continued effort to innovate, to think differently, and to push boundaries in everything we do. And I think that's a legacy that we're trying to carry on and build upon.
Is the industry as healthy as it looks to be? I mean, it looks like golf is at an all-time peak right now. Are you seeing that across all the Boyne properties?
It has been. We've been on a 10-year run.
That long?
Yeah,
Wow.
a 10-year climb from what was a challenging, environment back a decade plus ago. Under the team that Bernie oversees and others that have embraced change. I mean, dynamic pricing, which was not embraced by much of the industry up until, I think probably 30, 40% embrace it now. That's transformative to the way the economics of the business work. And we actually applied dynamic pricing to the ski side when we learned it was working so well on the golf side. And that is a continued refinement. So, pricing, creating value where you need, and you can fill in volume. And then obviously when people want a 9 o'clock tee time on a Saturday in the Heather in July,
Yeah.
it will cost more than it did, relatively speaking. And that allows us to reinvest. It's always about reinvesting in the experience, though. It's, that's the key piece, is continuing to give back.
I understand a little bit of the golf side of the world of Boyne. I understand a little bit of the ski side, even though my knees already are forbidding me from even thinking about trying it. How in the world did a sky bridge come out of the blue? I want to be in the room for the idea, for the thing that's now drawing 7,000 people a day to walk across it.
Well, that's a little the contrarian view as well. So we have a place in Gatlinburg, which again, without Gatlinburg, our sky lift and that operation, we probably wouldn't be sitting here today, because that was where we made much of our money back in the 50s and 60s to survive the ski business. And start investing in golf and bringing Jones and others to bear. So in Gatlinburg, we had acquired an adjacent land, and we added 40 acres to the parcel, and we had this huge crevasse between us and the other side of the property. And I'm standing there with our GMs like, well, what could we do here? And I think he said to me, well, what if we did some kind of bridge or something? And I said, that is an interesting idea. He goes, well, how do we do it? So we started to work with folks. So we built one in Tennessee, and it worked so well down there. And I was looking across our network where else we could build one, and Boyne Mountain happened to be the next best place. We got one other that's about to happen outside of Michigan. And it's a fantastic business because it's low labor, it's got huge volumes, and it's experiential. And in the right situation, it can be transformative to a property.
Is it more popular than you thought it would be?
It's actually, because of the success in Tennessee, it's about what we thought it would do.
Yeah.
But it's been great. It's been phenomenal, and it's allowing us to again reinvest and think differently and activate at Boyne Mountain, the village, the activity and the energy around the village, to really take it from a food and beverage and experiential perspective to the next level. So it's a piece of the puzzle.
All right, I'm going to bring us back into the golf realm here for a moment before we wrap things up, and let's talk about what projects are undergoing, what's on the potential list in the golf part of Boyne here in Michigan. What are you looking at?
Well, we're excited. We're venturing into the short course world. We just opened, or will open, the Dune Bray, our short course at the Highlands, in the spring. Had a little preview over Labor Day in September. That's to broaden our golf market and really build on the momentum that those have brought other destinations in golf. The Ross renovations continue. We're really excited. I mean, that was a vision. Bernie and myself, Jim Flick, were involved in the 80s of developing the Donald Ross Memorial, and we were leaning in heavily to make that something truly special. And at that time, we didn't have the technology we have today. So with Ray Hearn's help, we're meticulously going through hole by hole to update and bring that to its full potential of what the vision was we had back when we started that project. And we just finished the 10th hole, which is number 14 at Real Dornick, and it is a splitting replica. Andrew and Jerome and I were playing there last year. It's so much fun to see it come alive, and the details that we couldn't execute back in the 80s happening now. So we're going to go hole by hole and keep working on that next few years.
And that connection to Ray runs back a while, doesn't it?
Well, the concept was Dad's originally, and then I had to figure out how to do it with the team, and Bernie was involved, Jim Flick was involved, and but it is a passion project that we want to really give its just due to.
Well, we've heard a lot about Dad. We've heard a little about Dad. I'm sure there are hours of stories we could still hear. But I want to give you a chance, much like we did with Greggy, to just talk about the others who have been key to your journey.
Well, golf is a connector, and time connects people, and golf is a key part of most of us in this room. And for me, I went to Northwestern, the Michigan State. I met Andrew and Jerome, who were on the team with me. And Sherman was actually in my fraternity. I didn't meet him until later on. But both those Aboods introduced me to my wife, who the night before was on a date with Mr. Sherman. So
Wait. Okay, so now we get to the interesting
like
part.
really all tied together here, which is, it was a perfect setup with them showing up in the threesome there. But yeah, my wife Molly, who's a Clark Construction, I met actually with Andrew, and then I re-met with Jerome on a blind date. Basically, he set me up, and the rest is history. I've got 4 kids, one of which is here, Stein, named after Stein Eriksen, the famous skier. So I have to have another kid with like Glenn Johnson or something named after. But so the decades and connections are amazing to have, and to be here today with them here and have the full circle of my father over on the wall is pretty powerful.
Well, it's time for you to join Dad, and we're so well in the. Don't make me come down there. It's time for you to join Dad in the Hall of Fame. You people are nothing but trouble. We'll clear this room if we have to. Congratulations on behalf of the Michigan Golf Hall of Fame. He's going to grab it. Congratulations both to Greggy and to Steve. And our final honoree today has a really cool story to tell as well. And you talk about a player. Probably, I guess would be that if he wasn't in here with us right now, we might look out the windows and see a guy in a ski cap finishing up a round here at Catke. So it's a pleasure to welcome onto the platform our final honoree today, Kevin Vandenberg. Come on in. Yeah. So, Kevin, before I say something that's really foolish, like I just did to end with our time with Steve, your entree into the world of golf, what was that like? Who introduced you? Who do you remember maybe first putting that club in your hands and telling you how it was to be used?
Oh, my dad cut off a 5-iron when I was 5 years old. And I would be out there dragging the 5-iron behind me, and Mom and Dad were playing. But my parents really got me started when I was at an early age. I've always been competitive, always had that competitive fire in me. And it's been a part of my life since I've been 5 years old.
A 5-year-old with a golf club means a few broken windows here or there. Did the club ever get young Kevin into trouble?
I don't think so. Not that I remember hit any windows or anything, but my mother would always take me to tournaments. I'd be 7, 8 years old. I'd go with my cousin who recently passed away. My mom would be dragging us around at Kalamazoo tournaments. And then I got to high school when one of my teammates is here, Kip, and my golf coach from Matawan is here. Those were special days on the bus, back and forth to the golf course. But my parents really helped me early on.
We have, of course, over the years honored some tremendous players of this game. Many of them are in the Hall of Fame. There's only one who in a single year won the Michigan Amateur Championship, the GAM Championship, and the GAM Mid-Amateur Championship all in one season. I think that's what we call a heater. Can you take us to that year and why everything was clicking exactly how it was supposed to.
Well, it really wasn't up until that tournament. Actually, I was playing okay. I remember that year as I prepared for this. I remember thinking back. I was playing okay going into Battle Creek, and I remember I was the after the fact. I was the first person off the first tee, so I hit the first shot of the Michigan Am that year. Shot 72 the first day, and I'm like, just get into match play and see what happens. Well, I almost didn't get into match play. I shot 80 the second day, trying to play a little safe. I think it was 56th out of 64 Cs or something like that. And then when you get into match play, as everyone knows, anything can happen. And then just started to focus one match at a time. And I remember, actually, let me go a few years before this. I think in 1996, I looked up today, I played the Michigan Amateur at Mishaway, the Pines. And I was staying with Dan Maudlin, who's a good player from Kalamazoo. And he woke up early, and we were sharing a room, and he was doing stretching. He's a little older than I am. So he was doing some stretching, and he says, you can win this tournament. I'm like, no, come on, get out of here, no way. And he says, no, really, I think you could win this tournament. And so that really started me thinking, maybe I should work on my game a little bit more. So then 2000, and I get into matches, and I started playing, and then won the first match against someone who was, like I said, I was probably 54th seed, against a guy who, I'm not going to say his name, but he's like, this is not supposed to happen. You're not supposed to be very good. How can you beat me 5-4? This. And
Now we want to know his name. You understand?
Then I remember I got into probably the third match, and I was playing Steve Nichols. Very good player. Very, very good player. And we're walking down. We've got about 4 holes to go, and he said, I just know I'm like 4 under par, and I'm going to get beat 4-3. So I think in the six matches, I think I was 25 under par for the match play portion. And interestingly enough, in the semifinals, I was playing Randy Lewis, the defending champion. I was 2 down with 4 to go, and finished eagle par birdie to beat Randy. And Randy, as the gentleman as he always is, he came over, shook my hand. He says, that's the best finish I've ever seen. And then playing John Koskinen in the finals. And I was 1 up going to 18. And I actually holed my second shot. He was way over the green. He's probably going to make at best maybe 4. But probably 5. But I hold out for 2 from the fairway, 119. So I won 2 up in the Am. So that was pretty special. And then I remember playing the GAM championship, and I think it was the 3rd day, maybe. I don't know if Kenny was setting pins back then or not, but I remember playing. I had a lead going into the last day, playing Gary Robinson Jr. And he was like, pins were extremely difficult. How are we supposed to catch him when we're hitting the pins like this? I can't hit it close. How am I supposed to, make up ground? But so won that tournament, I think, by a couple. And then we get to the Michigan Mid-Am, and that was really special because we got to the last day, and we had a weather delay. I think it was darkness. And we had to hurry and get to the Kircher Cup the next day. But so we get up, and I think I had 17 and 18 to play, and I had 1 shot lead, maybe 2. And we had a fog delay that morning. Couldn't see very much. 17 was a par 3. Hit it on the green. It was probably 30, 40 feet. We could barely see the pin when we hit. fog kind of rolled in a little bit, and I said, I need to wait a couple minutes to see the hole. Ended up making that 40-footer to go up another shot. And then on 18, we could not see the fairway. And we had...
Where were you again?
This was Treetops, I believe.
Okay.
And so we were on 18, and there were people down the fairway. And the players, I was myself, Michael Ignasiak, I think Tim Katansky. But we said, there are people down there. Let's just go. We'll be fine. And David Graham said, you guys have to all agree to this, because if you hit it and you lose it,
Oh, yeah.
you know, that's on you. So each one of us hit, and we would hear from down the fairway, got it. So then we played that hole, ended up winning. Before, I'm sorry, I should have said this first. Before the last round, we're waiting to go out. Tanya Branch was talking to me, and she says, no one has ever won
She did.
the Michigan Amateur, the GAM Championship, and the Mid-Am all in the same year. And David Graham goes, Tanya. I said, don't worry about it. No big
It's
deal.
like saying to the pitcher, you've got a no.
You've got a no hit. You had a perfect game going into the ninth inning.
Right.
But that was a very special year. Very, very special year.
In match play, I love talking to really good match play champions, because I always wonder, along with your own game being sharp, if there's a telltale sign that your opponent is now feeling like they have no chance. And my guess is it would be when they start muttering to themselves, like you were describing earlier, like, there's no way you should be
Right.
able to do this. What's the indicator when you're in a match, you're like, okay, I'm officially now in this guy's head.
You can just tell by their body language. It's just by the way people act. I try my best just to put on a calm outside demeanor. I mean, inside it's just churning pretty good.
Yeah.
But just try and stay focused one shot at a time. And once you hit it, can't do anything about it. So just hit it and go get it.
So your game continues to be very strong, top-ranked senior amateur in the country in 2023.
Right.
What's the secret here? And I need to take notes.
Well, I was when I turned 55, I asked my wife Nikki. I said I'd really like to try and start playing more competitive golf nationally. And she said, "Sure, that's go ahead." And so actually, we bought an RV, and I said, "Why don't you take the year off of teaching?" She's a middle school special ed teacher. And so she traveled with me, and we went around, started in October, and played down the East Coast and down in Florida. And so we get to about April, starting to get nice. We live on Lake Ontario. And she says, you could travel a lot. Kind of travel too much. And she says, you go ahead and do your thing. I want to be home at the lake. And but I've really started to kind of what Steve alluded to when he said, guys go south and they play in the winter and they can keep playing and get their game honed more. That's more of what I'm doing now, and I'm really trying to focus on. I remember in 2000, I really hit my driver and my tee ball very well, and I've really started to focus on keeping that in perspective. And I talked with Tom Workmeister before, and he said, it's such an easy concept. Why don't we all do it, do it more? But so I think I've started to get to know my game better, and I actually probably practice 80 to 85% of my time is short game and putting, because if you can recover, that's what you need to do.
What does a day like this mean to you?
Tremendous honor. I just seeing a lot. I come back and play in the Mid-Am or the match play and see all my friends here in Michigan, and so many people here. that it's a great honor to see them and to have them experience this with me.
Everybody has a family story, a support system story. You mentioned Nikki briefly. Mm-hmm. Fill in some more of that detail for us, if you would.
Well, going all the way back to college, I worked for Dick Stewart at Kalamazoo Country Club for a winter, and played extensively with Bob Bales. He's here also.
They all, by the way, offered stories.
Oh yeah, I know that. They have plenty.
We were going to mic everybody up. They were
have
offering
plenty.
all sorts of content.
So, and like I said, high school with my coach Win Pugh and Kip, who you don't want to know those stories.
No, those are the stories we really
But
want to know.
Coach Pugh said, I just drove the bus. I made sure these guys got their names on the score sheet. But, and just seeing everybody here, I remember playing alongside of Buddy Witten when he was, the man in Grand Rapids, and getting to know his son Chris and the work he's doing. And everybody at the GAM, it's always refreshing to come back and see the faces and be with friends. And that's one of the things I've emphasized to Nikki, is that the thing I've really come to admire the most is, I love to play, I love to do well, but it's the relationships that you can forge and that you really build on later in your later playing years. That really means a lot.
There's a golf ball up here.
Yes.
Will you tell us the story behind this little Titleist 4?
That is, I was told to bring something that I could donate to the Hall of Fame, and that is the ball that I hold out with in the Michigan Amateur from 119 yards out.
Oh, you pulled it out of play?
Yep.
So that's coming into the Hall of Fame?
Correct.
That's outstanding. Well, thank you for that. There's a kind of connected throughout our three honorees. As we mentioned earlier, the game is soaring in popularity, but the coverage of the game has ebbed quite a bit on a daily basis, on a news basis. That's why what Greg does is so important. You're still playing this game at a fantastic level, and I am so glad we've been able to take a few moments to dig into the story side of Kevin. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And officially welcome into the Michigan Golf Hall of Fame.
Thank you.
Yeah. Wow.
Let's thank Bill. Give him a round of applause. We used to do speeches at this thing, and I was a reporter then, and I was highly skeptical of having 10 people do speeches that couldn't do speeches or didn't do them on a regular basis. So when I became chairman, I got Terry on my side, and we said, let's go to that format there where we do a talk show, little fireside chats. It's much easier, a little more intimate, and I thought, and we hire a pro to do it. So, second, there's a person in the back, Loretta Larkin. She's in the back corner, and that's her daughter Amy with her. Loretta's the administrator of the Hall of Fame. Okay, so the Hall of Fame has this 16, 17-member board from around the state, all the different associations and groups that contribute. But we have to have somebody pay the bills and keep track of everything. And of course, with my bum knee, she's the one who has to get on the ground and dig in the boxes back there and pull out the memorabilia that we display. I type the signs and she prints them out. Loretta does all the work. She's our do-it-all person, and honestly, she's a real Hall of Famer. So let's do a round of applause for Loretta. And finally, welcome to the Hall of Fame, Stephen and Kevin. I'm not sure I've ever had a better pairing. That's a pretty good day here.